Evening, Razorcade. Fake News 107. OpenAI launches GPT-5.6 agents, Databricks pivots to Chinese open-weight models, Commerce clears UA chip shipments, and a runtime rewrites itself in Rust over 11 days. We're live, assuming the ceiling panel stops vibrating at a frequency suggesting structural fatigue or a localized attempt to broadcast Morse code via drywall resonance. I'm just watching it tremble while we roll.
Top story, the tiered rollout. OpenAI has officially released the GPT-5.6 model family following government clearance, introducing 3 distinct performance tiers named Luna, Terra, and Sol to segment consumer and enterprise workloads. The architecture deploys ChatGPT Work as a cross-application agent capable of gathering context from external drives and incarnation platforms to draft documents. Early benchmark.
Autonomous agents compress the distance between intent and execution, forcing enterprise IT to manage permission scopes rather than user interfaces. When models navigate third-party APIs independently, traditional sandboxing fails, demanding continuous behavioral telemetry over static access controls. A single blue ballpoint pen, so I'm leaving it there because moving it might trigger a structural cascade that compromises the entire broadcast perimeter.
Databricks Swap To GLM 5.2, matching Opus at a fraction of the cost. It standardizes enterprise dev, killing vendor licensing fees. Leadership loves the latency and transparent weights, effectively neutering Western margin protection. It's like watching a banker realize he can just print his own money, except the printer is a Chinese AI and the ink is free, which is great until you realize the paper is made of shredded contracts and the toner smells like regret. Right.
Open-weight parity breaks proprietary moats, compelling vendors to compete on ecosystem integration rather than raw benchmark supremacy. When enterprises standardize on public architectures, licensing leverage evaporates, forcing commercial teams to monetize deployment tooling instead of model access. The potted fern behind the monitors developed a pronouncer's list to the left and suggesting.
Story 3, the regulatory adjustment. The Commerce Department loosened export restrictions on AI hardware to the UAE, letting Apple, Meta, and XAI supply chips to G42 without individual licenses. This streamlines cross-border compute development while maintaining oversight through aggregated transaction monitoring rather than granular approvals, much like how I once tried to park a forklift in the libraries.
Policy aggregation speeds hardware diffusion, compelling compliance teams to track ecosystem adoption rather than individual component sales. When licensing frameworks bundle approvals, oversight shifts from transactional gating to post-deployment auditing, altering how vendors structure international distribution channels. Fridays seem to stretch an extra 4 seconds in the lobby elevator, implying either a scheduled maintenance cycle or to aid attrition grip by weekend anticipation algorithms.
Home lab infrastructure update. Independent researchers have successfully benchmarked Nvidia's Puzzle-75B A9B mixture of experts model running on 3 achieving 132 tokens per second. Releasing dense routing architectures can maintain high throughput on legacy hardware when bypassing a Mangarcore Enterprises data centers. Quantization trades precision for throughput, letting devs host specialized models locally without subscriptions. The architecture prioritizes memory efficiency, making mixture of experts routing practical for desktop clusters that choked on dense foundation models. So I'm avoiding heavy objects to prevent triggering a localized tectonic shift and cause my coffee to spill into the keyboard tray.
Jarred Sumner rewrote the bun runtime from Zig to Rust in 11 days using Claude Fable, a task that would normally take 3 engineers a year. Anthropic's acquisition gave him internal model access to bypass manual review cycles. The new code matches performance metrics while reducing memory fragmentation, proving autonomous agents can compress multi-year roadmaps, which is great news for anyone who hates waiting for software updates or watching paint dry in a room with no windows. Indeed.
Autonomous refactoring collapses timelines, forcing leadership to pay for prompt architecture, not line count. With AI handling syntax, humans pivot to system design, altering software economics. A grain of sand is lodged in my spacebar, likely from a meteor impact, targeting my workflow. So I'm leaving the commune, literally disrupt the friction coefficients, preventing accidental double keystrokes during live broadcast delivery, which would be unfortunate given the current atmospheric pressure in this room. Okay.
Razorcade. OpenAI launches GPT 5.6 work agents. Databricks defaults to GLM.2. Commerce loosens UAE chip exports for G42 XAI. Bun rewrites core and Rust by Claude Fable 5 in 11 days. That sand grain is either GLA challenged by punctuation, which is fine since the broadcast committee banned exclamation marks anyway. See you tomorrow, if tomorrow exists.